The Caribbean. Welcome to Thoughtful Thursday, Season 3, Session 7. These editions of Thoughtful Thursday are hosted by NAPS, the New Providence Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools. Tonight, we are delighted to present to you the leader as mentor and motivator for the staff, but a journey, not a destination. We promise you another exciting program, so prepare yourselves for an engaging breakout session, Words to Ponder from President of St. Lucia's Association, a stimulating presentation by our guest speaker, and a tour of the city of Nassau, the capital of the Bahamas. I'm Shavana Darble, principal of the great S.C. McPherson Junior High School. Our mascot, the shark, is perceived to be a vicious predator. But in Shark Nation, we promote love, life, peace, and understanding. Joining me live from Parliament Square, where the government of the Bahamas has met since 1815, is my co-host, Principal Thompson. As we await my co-host, let us now go into our breakout sessions. Wow, Debbie, that breakout session surely was engaging. I had participants from Nassau in the Bahamas and Trinidad. They had ideas, just full and bubbling over with ideas. We had things like recognition and reward our staff. And this is staff from teaching staff straight down to support staff. Model the kind of staff that you want them to be. So let's be mindful that every day we walk onto the campus, we're expected to model that quality staff member that we expect our staff members to be. Provide criticism, but base that with support or combine that with support. Help them to set goals and involve them in the overall goal setting of the school. Use them to help us determine where it is that we want to take our institution, and show them that we care. There's an old adage that says, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So that is an important part, and I'm sure that our speaker will expand on that tonight. What happened in your breakout room, Ms. Thompson?
Hi, I am Deborah Thompson, principal of the L.W. Young Junior High School and home of the Golden Eagles. The sharing of ideas were quite interesting and inspiring. Desiree talked about motivating through a show of trust and by setting goals and rewarding the wins. Others shared about motivating by caring and giving staff a voice. They definitely gave me great ideas to take back to the Eagle's Nest. Maybe a lunch and learn staff trip to Fort Charlotte, the largest of the 3 forts found in Nassau and built in 1789. That may be a great motivator. At this time, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the president of the St. Lucia Secondary Schools Principals Association, Ms. Examen Filbert. Ms. Filbert is principal of the Angers Secondary School located in the south of the island. She is also a sports enthusiast. Let us welcome President Filbert with our presidential thought.
Good night, colleagues. As principals, we are the captains of our instructional ships. We must ensure that as we navigate the educational oceans, our students receive an educational program which caters for their needs. This educational program can only be delivered by highly motivated, determined, passionate, committed, caring, patient, and reflective staff. We must keep the oils in our teachers' lamps burning and ignite the fire in their souls, irrespective of how challenging the task can be. Remember always that failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. Henry Ford. Let us endeavor to motivate our staff by continuous engagement in professional development. Let's use the professional learning communities, workshops, seminars, conferencing, sharing of best practices, and study circles so teachers can be tooled and retooled and sharpen their swords. Some professional development sessions can also focus on personal development. 2, utilization of teacher skills. Teachers are very creative, skillful, and innovative. Provide opportunities to use their skills and expertise for the advancement of the school goals. Let's just provide the necessary support and resources. 3, involvement in decision making. Allow avenues for teachers to serve as head of departments, year heads, dean, senior management team members, and committee members, where they can share ideas and contribute to key decisions. Also provide a patient and listening ear, coupled with an open door policy. 4, recognize and celebrate their successes, the birth of their children, the academic achievement, and community accolades. 5, let's be consistent in the procedures, policies, and routines. Let's be clear and concise. Be transparent. Let's embrace a team mentality. Together, each can achieve more. There is space for everyone at the journey. Let's hold each other's hands. If we need to motivate our staff, we need to take care of ourselves so we can provide the necessary assistance and support. Generally, let's build our teachers. When we build our teachers, they in turn can build our schools and our communities. I thank you.
Thank you so much, President Filbert. That was inspiring. And I am left with the whole notion that when we build our staff, we build our school. So for those of us who want to invest in that ideal institution, let's be mindful to involve them in continuous PD development, use our teacher skills and involve them in decision-making. But most importantly, let's listen, because they too have things that they can share with us. Thank you so much. Behind me is the water tower. It stands at 126 feet above sea level and provides a spectacular view of the island of New Providence. So when you're visiting the Bahamas, please ensure that you visit our water tower. Debbie Thompson, what do you have for us tonight?
So, Darvel, do you think that everyone is ready to get up and move? Do you know that exercise is a part of a healthy lifestyle and a balanced life, and that dancing is a great form of exercise? Tonight, we are going to freestyle it to the sounds of Junior Junkanoo. Junkanoo is a colorful Bahamian festival rooted in our African ancestry and celebrated twice a year, December 26th and January 1st. So Let's get up, folks. Let's get up. Let's shake loose and dance to the sounds of Junkanoo.
We are breaking barriers. Are you transitioning with us?
How? What do we do?
Transitioning to leadership through professional development.
Through the voice of youth.
Through technology and innovation.
Through health and wellness.
Through stakeholders and community involvement.
Through the arts and culture.
Through inclusivity and diversity.
Transitioning to the future of Caribbean education.
Join us. Join us.
And let's blaze the trail to CAP's Virtual Conference 2021. We got this. See you there.
Wow, Ms. Thompson, why did you do that? Now I can't keep still. I truly miss the sound of Junkanoo. Yeah. COVID robbed us of Junkanoo this time around, but hopefully we will hear that rhythm again in December. Don't dry that sweat though. I want you to just relax and feel the cool breeze as we stand upon the top of Mount Fitzwilliam, home of the Governor General of the Bahamas. And in front of the house, behind me, is Christopher Columbus, the first known European to set foot into the New World. making the Bahamas the gateway to the New World.
I was really feeling it, Shavana, really feeling it. So I will feel it as we move east of the Statue of Columbus. And right there is another historic site, Gregory's Arch. This stone arch was named after Governor John Gregory, who served as governor of the Bahamas around 1850. It served as a boundary that kept Black people from living and socializing in the city of Nassau. And now our feature presentation. Our guest speaker, Mrs. Clevette Gibson, is a school administrator, currently posted as an assistant supervisor in the guidance and counseling unit at the Ministry of Education. Mrs. Gibson has extensive teacher, counselor, mentoring, customer service training, and educational consultancy experience. She holds a master's degree with honors in school counseling from Kent State University. I am indeed a fan of Mrs. Gibson after working with her for a short while at the T.A. Thompson Junior High School. So please, let us welcome our presenter, Mrs. Clevette Gibson.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. A long road, but we're not there yet. So I want to just say thank you to all of you for being here this evening. I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll begin. Okay. So I want to ask, first of all, whilst I'm waiting for my screen to come up, as technology sometimes does, how many of you send an email almost every day? Just put in the chat, I do. Or just raise your hands. If you send an email every day. Good, good, good. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So as I'm trying to share my screen and I'm having a bit of difficulty, I'm going to ask the question. And the question is, which is correct? And it would be easier to do it with my screen. Good morning, capital G, capital M, and the person's name when you're sending this email, or good morning, capital G, small m. Which is correct as you send your email?
The second one.
Okay, I see someone saying capital, 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 small. Come on, we got a few more people who can help us out. Capital, small, okay. Capital G, small m, all capitals. I'm gonna wait for 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Thank you so much. And as you can see from the chat, we have a mixture. We have some people saying, make sure they're both capital. And then some others are saying, good morning with the capital G and the small m. Well, I'm here to tell you this evening that those of you who have decided to capitalize the G and capitalize the M, you are correct. But I'm also here to tell you that those of you who decided to capitalize the G and make the M small, you're also correct. So if you go according to Grammarly and if you go according to Quora, they both are correct. Good morning with a capital G and a capital M is correct when you come from an English perspective, and that's the salutation. Your salutation, every letter, every word, sorry, is capitalized. But if you just go based on your English that says morning is not a proper noun, it should be small, then you're also correct. And this is an excellent point, just to prove that we need not all come from the same place to be correct. So the next time you see someone sends you an email And it's differently. I know Grammarly tries to correct it, like make that M small when you put it as a big letter, as a capital letter, but that's okay. It's still correct. I want you to remember that the same thing happens in our schools, in our environments. People are coming from different areas, from different cultures, from different backgrounds, different value systems, but we can all still be correct. All right. And so today, this evening, as we look at mentoring and motivating as a journey and not a destination, I want to put all of that together into one and say, we can't talk about mentoring and motivating unless we include modeling. Very big on modeling. People don't buy your product unless they buy you. I'm a tourism also trainer. And the one thing we teach is that before people buy what you have to sell, they have to buy you. And so you have to model the thing that it is you want to be. Dressler Sherman was a wonderful principal. I had the privilege of serving under her, and she was a mentor to me. And trust me, there was nothing that she would ask you to do that she hadn't already modeled. So I think it's very important that when we have the conversation about mentoring and motivating staff, that we continue to think about modeling. I've got a wonderful PowerPoint, by the way, that's not coming up. So the first thing I want us to talk about and think about in terms of mentoring and motivating and it being a journey and not a destination is that as leaders, we have to remember to always spot and highlight workers. Very often we spend a lot of time talking about the people who aren't doing what they should do. And many of you who would work in gang infested communities would know that the more you highlight the negative behavior, the more glamorous it becomes, and it becomes normal. Our students in some of the schools, when you talk to them about what's going on in the newspaper, and you're like, oh my goodness, look at that boy being shackled and doing the bank lane shuffle. And for you as a mature adult, that's horrible. That's unbelievable. For them, for some of them in different communities, that's publicity. And any publicity is good publicity. So I want to say to you that one of the first ways that you motivate and you mentor your staff is by highlighting those who are doing very well. How do you do this in an economy where there's no money? The first thing you can do is you can give a staff highlight video. Ask them to make a little video of themselves, and during one of your presentations, you highlight it. Let the staff know about them, what they do outside of work, how they create what they do, and how they get to do it so well. 1 minute, 2 minutes, no monies, and you have given them the opportunity to shine. It's important to spotlight and highlight those folks who are working. You can give them free class vouchers, which means, okay, you've been doing a very good job. Check in with me. I'm gonna give you this little voucher. And what this means is on a given day, and you can say you have to use it within 2 to 3 weeks, you can have a free period. Someone's gonna take your class and you can just sit and read a book and do anything professional. It costs nothing. It costs nothing, but it rewards them. It's important to do this because psychology says that when you incentivize people, your employees, you speak to the basic need. And sometimes that basic need is in, as you know, Maslow's hierarchy. It can be at the very bottom. It could be the need for food or shelter, or maybe it could just be some personal security. So when you do this, you make them feel better about themselves. Another way to incentivize is one of my favorites, and that's you could give food or drink vouchers, not expensive. You can have here in the Bahamas, a patty or a twist, that could come in quite handy, or a drink, just because you're doing such a great job. And I want you to know, not only do I notice it, I approve the message and I want to continue. I want you to continue doing that. So the first thing we want to do in motivating and mentoring the staff is to spotlight and then highlight the workers. And then if I had up my beautiful slide, you'd see the second point would be to move beyond the problem sharing to problem solving meetings. I think once we get liberated in this aspect as leaders, everything else is a piece of cake. If you think about how much time you spend discussing a problem, you would realize that it really is not productive, because the fact is everybody knows what the problem is. We've got it. We know what it is. So when you tell me what the problem is and then someone else comes, I just want to piggyback and say this on the same problem. And then someone else comes, well, you know, it's really important and don't miss it. And they're still talking about the very same problem. Your time, whether it's a staff briefing, whether it's a one-on-one meeting, needs to move to problem solving. So what? Now what? I love that TED Talk by Linda Wyman. I love it, I love it, I love it. And she's quoted as saying, after they got through telling us the stories of how awful the conditions and the children were, I looked at them and I said, so what? Now what? What are we going to do? And I find that that is the position we need to get stuck in. Productive people, people who make change and make a difference, are stuck on what are we going to do next. Too often we allow ourselves as leaders to be drawn into that, they ain't paying you and this ain't happening and this is going wrong. It is. But what's the solution? And here's what you can do. You can cause your staff members to actively think about solutions to the current issues. And you can do this by directing conversations to factors that are controllable. Can we change the pay at this point? No. What can we control? We can control possibly how the spending is. So guess what I can do? I can bring in someone who's going to speak to you about money management. So I'm taking an aspect of it and I'm helping to fix it. You can also ask them or cause them to have questions that point them to action plans. Do we have the resources needed to do this? Before we get into the big discussion about what it is, are there resources available? If they're not, then we need to figure out the next question. Can we get the community involved? Is it time for partnerships? So everywhere, every aspect of that problem, you are actively looking for a solution. And the thing about it is, you ought to make your staff, so much involved in the solution finding that they're not prepared to bring up a problem unless they're ready to assist with a solution. We have to be solution focused. And maybe for me, I stand from that point because I'm a solution focused therapist. That's where I come from. That we believe that the answer to the problem is in the person sitting in front of us. When you go to the therapist, they do not have the answer. All they have are objective eyes that you can't see because you're so clouded by the situation that they're helping you to pull out of you what you actually need, but it's already there. As the leader of the team, you do not have all the answers. And as a matter of fact, your staff may have more of them. But the goal is, as the effective leader, as the mentor, as the motivator, what you do is you're able to elicit, you're able to pull out of them those things that they need to get the success. All right, again, and this slide is my favorite slide. You really should have seen this one. The third thing that you should do in terms of motivating and mentoring, and remember, it's the journey because we never arrive. We're consistently doing it. We're practicing it. We're being it. Is you're going to build professional relationships. I pride myself on this. And I say that because I love everybody professionally. My personal life is my own, but professionally, I'm able to share with everybody. The first thing you want to do as an administrator with the staff is to observe, and this is going to sound crazy, but believe me, it's doable, is to observe each teacher at least twice per semester. And you say, well, Clevette, give me a break. Where am I going to get that time from? Go to the problem before the problem comes to you. If you get ahead of it, trust me, it will minimize the time you spend on dealing with classroom management and anything else. So your observation does not have to be formal. I made it a point of going into those classes all the time. Homeroom time, schedule visit, walking through, just stepping in to see. My presence was always there. I was always present so that I can speak to the skill level, the delivery method of the teachers with confidence. So I knew it. And I'd come around so often. At first, they were like, again. Afterwards, they knew to expect me. Along with that comes the accountability that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. What ends up happening is that teacher knows that if anybody knows their teaching style and what they need to do to improve, it's you, because you're in there. from the beginning. And it doesn't mean you're there every day, every minute, every second. And it doesn't mean you're there for the entire period. But sometimes you come in just to offer support, just to see the topic, just to learn or to carry somewhere else. So when you observe the teacher at least twice, and I'm not even talking about outside the window just watching, I'm talking about inside the room, quite possibly 10, 15 minutes of your time, you then can get a good idea of what's happening in the school. You get to see who's weaker, who's stronger, who's prepared, who's unprepared, who's having a good day, and you can speak to those things with confidence, all right? Secondly, as you build the professional relationships, I encourage you to smile genuinely and affirm regularly. People know when a smile isn't real. You know, the old people here would tell you, if the smile don't go straight to the eyes, they're serious. You know, if someone's smiling with you, it has to be warm. And so you've got to find some pleasure in people who are doing the same work that you're doing. Something about that ought to make you be excited. When I say affirm regularly, that means find something good to say. Build up, don't break down. When you have to say something that may be taken in a negative way, I usually say this to the teachers at the teacher mentoring program, use the sandwich approach. The sandwich approach, and you would have seen my little sandwich, the sandwich approach is this. You give a compliment, you give the correction, and you end it with another compliment. So you don't come in and say, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. You're not prepared. Because all they hear is, you're coming at me again, you're coming at me again. But if you take the time to package the message, it is more likely that they will hear it. So you may start by saying, you're usually extremely prepared. That's the first part. That's the compliment. Your lesson today, however, lacked a few basic elements that ensured that the students would retain the information. That's the correction. That's the thing there that we didn't like. And then we say, but I'm confident that once you go back and do a few more things, that we'll see that preparation that you normally used to have. That's the ending. That's the part that you're leaving them on a good note. So whenever you leave someone, to break it down so that when you come at them, they don't feel attacked, you give them something positive, you give them what needs to be corrected, and you leave them with the feeling of, okay, it's going to be okay. All right. So it makes it, I saw someone in the chat says it makes it palatable. I love it. I love it. I love it. So make it a sandwich. Thank you. All right. So in addition to that, as you build your professional relationships, because all of this helps with mentoring and motivating, you have to make yourself available. You have to be present, and you can't always be busy. You have to be available. So a working lunch with your teachers or your department could work. Keep in mind that during this working lunch, you're eating, they're eating. And so it's supposed to be very informal. So you may sit with the department with a sandwich or maybe some tea, and you may say, listen, how's it going? What's happening in your department? And you're still garnering information that you're going to use to create what's going to happen for your future for the school. Lastly, when you build your professional relationships, and this is sometimes difficult to do, but advisable, create a roster for the teachers to observe each other at least once per term. Cause your teachers to sit in rooms of their own department members to see how they teach, but cause them to go outside of the department. So you want them to do two. So if they're doing once per term, and you have at least 2 terms for the whole year, you're going to use one in your discipline. And then you're going to see how someone in cosmetology teaches. And you take a look at the relaxed atmosphere of that class and see what you can take into your English class or how it's different. And it all works together, you know. So now when you sit with your teachers for your working lunch in the whether it's one-on-one in the departments, you can talk to them about what they observed. And so you're getting even more information for you to get the big picture of your school to be able to lead, creating a better environment, better relationships, and then teachers are going to be motivated and they will be mentored. Lastly, the one thing you're going to have to do is be accountable. And according to the American Association of School Administrators, principals are held accountable, leaders are held accountable when they balance achievement with improvement. I'm going to say all of this very quickly because we're about to end. It is important to achieve, but it is also important to recognize improvement. If he's in a drug-infested area, he's unable to come to school on time because he's taking care of a baby. There are nothing to eat at home. All of these factors you can't control, and they affect achievement. However, you may be able to find that student or that group of students based on a teacher who's taking time is improving. So you're going to have to look at high BGCSE scores or whatever your national exam scores are, but you have to balance that with the improvement students make last year, even if it does not reach that standard. So rather than just focusing on the high flyers or getting up there, it is important to ensure that you have the balance. Students are improving, that's good. The second thing, to be accountable as a leader in the school, you have to ensure that your assessment, evaluation, and feedback is frequent. You can't wait until it's time for your annual performance appraisal and sit with the teacher and expect to know everything in that one time. You've got to do, as we talked before, pop in, offer suggestions, ask. I saw you teaching this lesson. Explain to me what caused you to take it from that point. And that's the counseling part of us that causes us to wonder why. The why is sometimes as important as the what. If you've got a good teacher and you're about to assess them and they say, not today, I'm really not I'm not feeling my best today. Why assess them that day? Because it's just easier for you. You're only going to get what they're going to give, which is going to be what they told you, not the best. Work with them. Choose another time. Because you're doing it often, you won't be limited to getting it right now. CXC, thank you, Mr. Smith. Thirdly, and I only have 5 of them, so we're just about finished. Thirdly, you want to reward the tough choices. There are teachers who are going to have to make some decisions, and when you look at what they did, you will be like, wow. Oh, wow, amazing. You did all of this, you're here all night, you did this, reward that. Find a way to highlight that because it was something that they didn't have to do and they got all the oomph and got it done. The fourth thing I'm going to ask you to do is focus on student learning. That's a part of being accountable. Too often, and as I, moved the corridor and I looked and the teacher's teaching, she's teaching and she's teaching and she's teaching her heart out. And I look at the students and they're not getting it. They're not learning. Learning is more important than just the teaching. We do not need to consistently measure teaching. We need to consistently measure learning. Leaders will be accountable for the students' performance. Isn't that what we're there for? So what we have to do is we have to be there enough to say, okay, I see that skill and I see that strategy and I like it and I'm over 40. But the kids there are 15 and 13 and it ain't working. Okay, so we have to focus on, is the student learning? Not whether it's a great teacher. Is the student learning? That's very important. That's how you get to be accountable. That's how you get to be the mentor. That's how you motivate people, because you get to say to them, listen, I found that this is what works. And the last point I'm going to make is that if you're going to be accountable, you have to take time for reflection and self-evaluation. You've got to look at yourself in the mirror. Good, bad, if there's something ugly. And if you go home every night and you don't rethink your day, start now. Turn the TV off and pause. If you do it before you leave work or you do it after you leave work, pause, go over that day. Think about who you interacted with. Think about what you said and who you promised certain things to, so that the following day, You can be intentional about your correspondence with everybody else. The important thing that a leader must do as you motivate and you mentor people is you have to reflect. You have to go back and say, you know what, I said that, but I was wrong. Or I said that and I got an opportunity to look again. And when I checked it out again, here's what I think. Evaluate yourself. Don't wait for the staff to tell you who you are. You ought to know who you are. You ought to come to that meeting with all your faults and all the good stuff wrapped up together. So when you get there, if you're short of patience, like we say, you're working on that. And you evaluate and you say, boy, today I answered and I shouldn't have done that. I'm gonna do better tomorrow. And you do it before anybody else has to do it. Go home and reflect. When you are accountable, when you build professional relationships, when you move beyond having problem sharing meetings to having problem solving meetings, and when you incentivize, you motivate your staff, you mentor them, you model what it is to be a good leader. And the funny thing about it is, it isn't the end, it's the beginning, because when you do all of this, you realize that you can tap into so much more. I encourage you all, thank you for having me, and continue the journey of motivating and mentoring staff.
Woohoo, Ms. Gibson. Ms. Thompson, I'll have you know that you are not the only person to have had the privilege of working with this awesome lady.
That's right.
We are Formanites. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. But I'm sure that my colleagues throughout the Caribbean will join me in saying how proud we are of you and how well you presented to us tonight. Look at you, without a PowerPoint, you captured our attention. Awesome transition from your lack of visuals, but you were clear in your presentation, and we are certainly better off from hearing from you tonight. So colleagues, please join me in saying thank you, gracias, or mercy to Ms. Gibson. If there were any doubts about the why or the how to motivate your staff, you have certainly provided clarity for us and awareness, Ms. Gibson. So thank you so very much from NAPS.
Thank you too.
Lead off with questions, and Ms. Gibson will take a few minutes to take your questions. So your questions should have been placed in the chat. And Ms. Gibson, just give us a second and we'll get to the questions for you. Ms. Thompson,
we have a lot of thank yous.
Yes.
Great job.
If we just read from the comment section. I
don't see a question, but I do see.
Can you repeat the name of the speaker of our TED Talk you mentioned, please?
Linda Wyman, Linda Clyett Wyman.
How do you mentor a teacher who refuses to be mentored? Great question.
It is a very great question, because before you can mentor anybody, they have to be willing and ready. So maybe that's a conversation that you'd have to have first. And if they're not willing to be mentored, I would zoom right there and say, so tell me what it is that you've got to offer. What is it that we can learn from you? And then now, if I'm prepared to learn from you, I want to give you some things as well. Let's exchange. Let's work this together.
So David says, what I love about this is the theory is infused with action, what we can do. I can see that you are solution oriented. We are being provided with possible solutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a question, you spoke about motivating teachers. What about other members of staff?
Yes, that too. I worked with the Employee Assistance Program, and what we did for the employees, the secretaries, or even the janitorial staff was different. And it depends on the culture of the school, and it depends on the need of the staff. For many of them, they wanted activities to just be able to share and to be open. I think a good thing for a leader to remember is that your custodial staff and your secretaries, they're on the ground. If you want any information, that's where you're going to know what's going to go down. Make it your business to make them feel special. We're not in a classless society, and we don't determine your worth based on what you do. We determine your worth based on your genuine personality and what you bring to the table in character. And so that's what we have to remember. So depending on the school, depending on the situation, you find out from them, what do you need help in? Some of them may want opportunities for online learning. Others of them may want opportunities to just share and, vent. And so you would provide EAP where they can come and talk about some of the things that they're happening, or just some appreciation for them. But I think that is specific to discipline of the staff all around. People need different things, but the leader, and I need to address that. A good leader knows exactly what the staff needs. I did a course on high-performing teams, how to create high-performing teams. And the one thing that I found was amazing was I was accustomed to being in a school and you got to choose the committees you were on. You like this, so you became a part of that committee. But one of the fundamentals of creating high-performing teams is that you don't allow people to choose which committee they want to be on. The principal looks at the strengths of the persons on the team and nudges them towards the committee. Because I don't know how many of you would have been in schools where there's a committee and so many people join and nothing happens. But when you create a committee where you're looking at them and you say, okay, she's not really a people's person, she's signed up for the social committee, maybe she's good with the computer, I may need to reroute her to technology and tell her how good she is for this. A good leader does that, points them in the direction that the institution is going to really benefit from.
Okay, and so, Mrs. Gibson, you definitely did not disappoint. Excellent presentation and so on point. Spotlighting teachers, recognizing their work, observing often through continuous assessment, measuring learning, and daily reflections. There are other questions in the chat. And thank you, colleagues, as well. There was so much. Totally enjoyed it. Thank you. Again, thank you, colleagues, for your questions. Please do not forget to click on the link in the chat to evaluate this session of Thoughtful Thursday. Davo?
We've come to the end of another wonderful session. Thank you for participating and sharing. Let us remember also to register for CAPS 2021 live from Trinidad and Tobago, July 26th to 31st.
Great. And from the world famous straw market in downtown Nassau, I am Deborah, and together with my co-moderator and tour guide, Shavana, it has been a pleasure being with you and showing a little of our capital, Nassau.
We want to say a special thank you to Mr. Aaron from Jamaica and Raj, the RSC tech team. And please be sure to join us again next week for the Bahamas' final Thoughtful Thursday presentation with our Director of Education, Dr. Marcellus Taylor, who will speak on succession planning in the workplace, preparing others to lead. Saying good night from the former site of Fort Nassau and the statue of our first Royal Governor of the Bahamas, Woodes Rogers. Good night.
Good night.
We are breaking barriers and you transitioning with us.
How? What do we do?
Transitioning to leadership through professional development.
through the voice of youth.
Through technology and innovation.
Through health and wellness.
Through stakeholders and community involvement.
Through the arts and culture.
Through inclusivity and diversity.
Transitioning to the future of Caribbean education.
Join us.
And let's blaze the trail to CAPS Virtual Conference 2021. We got this. See you there.